First story. My entitled son won a free vacation for the family, so I grounded him, excluded him, and went on the vacation. He still sulked, so I took away his solo trip and gave his ticket to his cousin as punishment. Now he has abandoned me, acting like a child, but I want him back at my house. My son Lucas 18M has been completely obsessed with airline miles and credit card points for about a year now. I don't mean he's into travel deals. I mean it has become his whole personality. He's on Reddit forums and in Facebook groups, and half his TikTok feed is people flying first class to Zurich using points. At first, I thought it was just a phase, something quirky he'd grow out of, but it honestly got worse over time. Every dinner conversation turned into, "Did you know you can transfer Amex points to Avianca Life Miles?" Or some nonsense like that. He even got mad at us once for not using a portal to order a toaster online. I ignored it for the most part. I have 2 daughters, Isabel 16 and Natalie 14, and they were just as over it as I was. But Lucas kept pressing me to open a certain credit card, said it had a limited time offer, and would cover a full vacation for our whole family if I used it correctly. He's not wrong, we've been tight financially this past year, so a vacation was probably off the table, unless it was free or close to it. I finally gave in a few months ago. He walked me through applying for the card, how to hit the minimum spend, which bills to pay with it, etc. He even tracked the bonus progress and helped me redeem the points. To his credit, no pun intended, he basically handled the whole thing, and the bonus ended up covering airfare and hotel for a week-long trip to Cancun. Flights, hotel, transfers all taken care of. The thing is, while Lucas handled the logistical stuff, I was the one dealing with reality. School schedules, passports, sports tournaments, and my job. We ran into a problem when it came time to actually book dates. Lucas is in college now and has the entire month of December off. Winter break made perfect sense to him because it's his only long break, and he assumed we'd just go then. But my daughters are both in sports. Isabel plays varsity volleyball, and Natalie's on a competitive swim team. Their schedules are packed in December tournaments, meets, and practices. Not to mention midterms. It's a huge hassle to pull them out, and they'd miss major games and events. Plus, all their friends go away over spring break. It's become kind of a tradition. They were both really looking forward to having a fun trip to talk about and post about when they got back. So I suggested spring break. But it turns out Lucas's spring break doesn't line up with theirs. He immediately got annoyed and said if we go in spring, he won't be able to come. He assumed the whole point of planning this was so we could all go together. And he was really upset that we'd even consider going without him. This is where the argument started. He said, and I'm quoting, "You're literally planning to cut me out of the trip I earned for you." He brought up how he spent months researching credit cards, watching videos, and learning about reward systems, and basically handed us a free vacation on a silver platter. Which, sure, he did. But I never asked him to. I never said, "Lucas, please make this your full-time hobby so we can get a vacation." He chose to spend hours learning this stuff. He's been talking about it nonstop for months, like we all owe him something for it. I told him I appreciated what he did, but this was still a family trip, and we had to pick a time that worked for most of the family. Not everyone's schedule is flexible, and he's the only one with a full month off in December. Meanwhile, Isabel and Natalie have 1 week, and all their friends are going places then. He called that a dumb reason, and said we were prioritizing their Instagram clout over actual family time. At one point, Isabel got involved and said he was being dramatic. Natalie backed her up, saying he acts like he's the dad or something, just because he figured out how to hack some airline points. It got pretty heated. He ended up storming off and refused to eat dinner with us that night. I thought he'd cool down, but the next morning, he was still pissed. He even told Stephen, my husband, that we were being morally disgusting, his words, for going without him. Stephen kind of shrugged and said it was a tough situation, but didn't say much else. Honestly, this isn't the first time Lucas has gotten weirdly controlling or self-righteous about stuff. Last year, we had an issue where he got mad because we didn't buy organic groceries after he read a bunch of articles about pesticides. Before that, it was plastic waste. He started guilt-tripping us for using Ziploc bags. He tends to go all in on something, expect everyone to follow, and then act like a martyr when we don't. It's exhausting. This trip has now turned into this huge guilt fest, where he's acting like the victim because we want to take advantage of something he helped us earn. But I still stand by the fact that I didn't ask him to do any of this. If he wants to be the points wizard, great, but he doesn't get to dictate the family calendar. He's now demanding that we apologize, not just me. But Isabel and Natalie too for even suggesting going on the trip without him. He says it's disrespectful and selfish. I told him I think what's selfish is trying to derail a family trip for everyone else because the dates don't work for him. He didn't take that well. He said we were using him and acting like he's just a tool to get free stuff. That if any of us cared about him, we'd wait. I reminded him we aren't canceling anything. We're just going at a time that works for the people who can actually go. That's not betrayal, it's logistics. He said that was just a convenient excuse, and that if roles were reversed, we'd never do this to the girls. He's probably right. But that's because they don't fixate on one topic for a year straight, expect full control, then act shocked when people push back. I've tried being patient, but Lucas has a pattern of turning everything into a moral crusade. He has to be right, and if you don't go along with his plan, you're disrespecting him. It's exhausting trying to reason with someone who thinks every disagreement is a betrayal. After that conversation, he stopped speaking to us. He left the group chat, locked his door, didn't come down for dinner. That's now 3 days ago. I'm not even kidding. Meanwhile, the girls are excited. Isabel has already picked out swimmers and keeps sending me TikToks of resorts. Natalie's talking about getting braids and ordering beach stuff online. They're acting like normal teenagers excited to go somewhere warm, take pictures, and hang out in a pool. I don't see how that's wrong. Steven's trying to play both sides. He said maybe we could find some way to make it work, maybe even push the trip to summer. But summer isn't guaranteed, prices spike. The award availability drops, and frankly, I'm not willing to rework everything just to soothe Lucas's ego. We've already delayed the trip multiple times trying to accommodate everyone. At some point, you have to just make the call and go. Lucas seems to think this trip is some kind of trophy he earned, and we're not allowed to enjoy it unless he gives permission. But again, I didn't ask for this project. He made it his obsession and kept forcing it into every conversation. I finally agreed to use his suggestion and open the card. And now that it's actually turning into something useful, he's throwing a tantrum. I told him directly, "You helped us unlock a reward, thank you. But the reward belongs to the family, not just you." He didn't respond. I also don't buy the narrative that this is about family time. If that were true, he'd have asked about our schedules before planning things in his head. He wants to be the one who made something happen. And if it doesn't happen his way, it's not good enough. There's also a bigger dynamic here. Lucas has always felt a little separate from his sisters. They're very close with each other, and he's always been the more intense, more solitary one. Smart kid, no question, but everything becomes a hill to die on with him. He's had fights with Isabel in the past over music volume, with Natalie over wasting hot water, and even with Steven once over how we load the dishwasher. I've walked on eggshells with him for years because he's so easily offended. But I'm not doing it this time. Not when it means punishing the rest of the family. Not when it means taking away something the girls are actually excited about and can realistically enjoy. I don't feel bad for planning around my daughter's availability instead of his. They're younger. They don't have flexible school schedules. Their world is a little smaller right now, and this trip matters to them in a social sense too. He's 18. An adult. He has his own life, his own travel goals, and his own future trips to plan. He's not being excluded. He's just not available when the rest of us are. That's life. And honestly, if the roles were reversed, I don't think he'd postpone anything for his sisters. But now, because he can't go, he's acting like the entire trip should be scrapped. Like it only counts if he's there. And I just don't buy that. The way I see it, we're using the points the way he taught us to. The trip is happening because of that, and that's great. But that doesn't entitle him to final approval over every detail. Especially when he's not even paying for any of it. He's not financing the trip, not compromising, just demanding. I don't think that's how family works. I've confirmed the resort and looked at flights, and we're set to book once I finish some work things this week. I'm not postponing or rescheduling again. Lucas is still cold. No texts, no calls, no sign of backing down. He thinks we owe him an apology that we're taking advantage of him by using the points without letting him come. But I think he's being ridiculous. He helped with information, yes. But he's not the only one in this house with a calendar. And this isn't about leaving him out. It's about everyone else having one single week when they're free, and him not being able to join doesn't mean the rest of us don't deserve to go. So, Reddit Ada? Comments. Comment 1. Ida. And this whole post stinks of the golden child dynamic. I can see the favoritism bleeding through your words. You bend over backwards to make sure Isabel and Natalie don't feel left out. But Lucas, he's apparently controlling and self-righteous. For trying to be involved in the family, he literally enabled to go on a vacation. You know what happens when parents consistently prioritize the loudest or most popular kids? The quiet, smart ones learn to detach. He's 18, and instead of nurturing that last bit of connection he still wants with you, you're throwing it away because it's inconvenient for your daughters. And don't act like it's some impossible calendar conflict. If you really wanted everyone there, you'd find a way. The truth is, you don't care if he's included or not. You're burning a bridge for a few Instagram likes and a tan. Don't be surprised when he stops coming home for holidays. Comment 2. Jesus Christ, YTA. Do you even hear yourself? I never asked him to do it. No, but you had zero issue cashing in the benefit. Let me guess, you also didn't ask your coworker to bring donuts, but still shoved 3 in your mouth before the meeting. Come on, be serious. Lucas did all the work. All of it. And instead of even trying to meet him halfway, you basically said, "Cool, thanks for the free vacation. You're not invited." You keep calling him obsessive and dramatic, but what I'm hearing is that he found something he's passionate about, and he shared it with you. At 18, most college freshmen want nothing to do with their parents. He wanted to share something with you, and you told him he was annoying. That's brutal. If the girls were left out, you'd be in full meltdown mode. But when it's Lucas, it's logistics. Your bias is so obvious, it's almost laughable. Hope your beach pics are worth the family resentment you're planting. Comment 3. YTA, and impressively shameless about it. So let me get this straight, your kid does months of research, creates a financial strategy that literally makes the unaffordable affordable, hands you a free vacation. And your response is, "We didn't ask you to, so now shut up while we go enjoy your work without you." Are you for real? And you're not even subtle about it. You call him controlling for wanting to go on a trip he planned, while bending over backwards to accommodate your daughter's school sports and social lives. You don't even hide the fact that the Cancun trip is more about Isabel and Natalie keeping up with their friends than actual family time. Let's just be honest, he's the scapegoat in your family. You resent his intensity because it forces you to be accountable. He'll go low contact in a year or two, and you'll sit around wondering, why does he never call anymore? Probably blame his future partner too. Pro tip: start learning how to book your own damn travel, because this was probably the last time Lucas lifts a finger for you. Update. So we went to Cancun. And yes, the trip was amazing. The girls had the time of their lives. Sunshine, resort pools, beach dinners, spa days, all-inclusive drinks, the whole thing. I didn't post the first couple of days because of all the drama, but eventually I figured screw it. We earned this, so I posted. And then Lucas lost it. While we were down there enjoying the trip that he helped make possible, he was going nuclear online. I'm talking long-winded posts on Instagram stories with black screen rants, and even a note dump about parental betrayal on Facebook where extended family could see it. He called us parasites and said he hoped the margaritas tasted like guilt. My aunt, his great aunt, even messaged me asking if I really cut him out of a trip he earned. Can you imagine how exhausting it is to have to explain basic logistics to boomers? Anyway, we got back. The trip was exactly what the girls needed. Natalie made new friends at the resort. Isabel got her spring break photos. I got a full body massage and didn't think about Lucas once for 6 whole days, which I desperately needed after the disrespect he's been throwing my way. Lucas was ice cold when we got back. He barely looked at me. Didn't say a word to Isabel. Natalie tried to hug him, and he just walked off. I gave it a few days because I figured, okay, let him cool off. But he didn't. He just sulked. Wouldn't come downstairs for dinner. Wouldn't join us for game night. Wouldn't speak to his sisters. Even Steven tried talking to him and got nothing but a blank stare. Then Natalie broke down. Literally. Full sobbing breakdown in the hallway after dinner one night. Said she was so sorry for not standing up for him, that she felt like a terrible sister. She went to his room and apologized, and I'll admit he did hug her. I thought we were turning a corner. I even felt a little hopeful. Then he turned around and went right back to being passive-aggressive with the rest of us. He demanded Isabel apologize too. She didn't. She told him point blank she had nothing to be sorry for, that she wanted to go on spring break, and that he was being a drama queen. He laughed in her face and said she'd be lucky if anyone wanted to travel with her in 10 years. It was petty and mean, and I'd had enough. I grounded him. Yes, he's 18. Yes, he's technically an adult. But this is still my house and my rules. You don't scream at your sister and act like a victim when all we did was go on a family vacation without ruining our schedules for one person. He called me a narcissist. I told him he was acting like an entitled brat who thinks earning points gives him veto power over the entire household. That's when I made the call. I canceled his solo trip. He had one planned for the summer. Booked it with the leftover points he had from another card. Fine. But if he's going to act like this, like he's the victim, and we're the villains, then I'm not going to reward that behavior. I told him we were giving the trip to his cousin Brandon, who just got accepted into a top-tier engineering school and actually knows how to treat people. Brandon is polite and grateful and doesn't use social media to trash his family behind their backs. Lucas flipped. Said I had no right. But the account the points were linked to. My account. I was the primary cardholder. Lucas was just an authorized user. I shut that card down and moved the points. Legally, totally in my right. Natalie cried again. Said I was going too far. I told her to stop embarrassing me. We just got back from a vacation I planned for her happiness. And now she's crying because I'm holding someone accountable. She wouldn't drop it, so I sent her to her room. She's not going to guilt trip me for being a parent. Now Lucas hasn't spoken to me in 4 days. He eats alone. He's locked himself in his room, and he won't even speak to Steven. I thought once the dust settled, he'd understand the message. That love doesn't mean giving in to tantrums. That being an adult means accepting consequences when you push people away. But now I'm starting to wonder, how do I get through to him? And no, before anyone jumps down my throat again, I do not regret the trip. The girls deserved it. I deserved it. Just because Lucas thinks the entire universe should revolve around his Google Sheets doesn't mean I have to punish the rest of the family. Life doesn't work like that. I didn't steal anything. I used the credit card he recommended. That's it. I didn't ask for his help. He did it voluntarily. You don't get to hold favors over people's heads forever. And to everyone who said he should have been the only one who got to use the points. Are you serious? He lives rent-free in my house, eats my food, and uses my Wi-Fi. And I'm supposed to bankroll his solo vacation while he curses me out online. No, actions have consequences. I've seen some of your comments, and frankly, it's wild how some of you bend over backwards to justify this poor betrayed son narrative. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to keep the peace in my household with 2 teenage daughters and a grown man-child sulking in the basement like we burned his birth certificate. I love my son. I do. But loving someone doesn't mean enabling toxic behavior. He needs to grow up. I'm not perfect, fine. But I'm the adult in this house, and I made the best decision for the family with the information and circumstances I had. And I stand by it. That said, I do want to fix things. I want my son to come back to the table literally and figuratively. I want him to move forward. Take his passion for travel and turn it into something productive. I want him to feel seen and loved. But he needs to start acting like he's part of a family, not the CEO of it. So Reddit, how do I win him back without caving in to the idea that I did something wrong? Because I didn't. I did what had to be done. But I still want my son back. How do I make him understand that? Comments. Comment 1. This is unhinged. You've convinced yourself that punishing your son will somehow prove you love him, when really all you're showing is that your love is conditional on compliance. You didn't just go on the trip without him, you made every single follow-up action about power and punishment. He didn't bend. You grounded him. He argued back. You took his vacation. Your daughter cried. You silenced her too. You keep using family like a shield while actively destroying its meaning. Let's be clear. He gave you the key to a trip you couldn't afford. He shared something he was excited about, probably the only way he knows how to bond with you. And you twisted it into, no one asked you to. Then you handed the leftover trip to your nephew like it's a effing reward for staying quiet. Lucas isn't the one breaking the family dynamic. He's the only one who noticed there was one. Comment 2. You came back to Reddit after nuking your son's trust, just to double down and say you're the one being wrong. That takes a special kind of ego. The vacation isn't even the story anymore, it's how you've bulldozed through your own kid's sense of family and called it parenting. You mocked Natalie for crying. You rewarded a random cousin for being better than your son. You grounded an 18-year-old for calling out the fact that you won't take accountability. What's next? Disowning him for breathing wrong. And stop acting like this is Reddit versus you. The problem isn't people misreading your intentions. The problem is you thinking that you're entitled to people's loyalty, even when you treat them like SHT. If you want your son back, you're going to have to actually listen to him. Do not guilt him, do not scold him, and do not demand that he see things your way. Because guess what? He's not coming back just to be your punching bag again. Update. Well, a lot has happened. Lucas moved out. He's in off-campus housing now, renting a room with some friends near his university. Didn't tell us he was going. One day he was here. The next he was gone. Just a text that said, "I can't live in a house where I'm not respected." No warning. No conversation. No, thank you. He still has half his stuff in his closet. He doesn't speak to me. Doesn't speak to his dad. Doesn't even acknowledge Isabel. The only one he talks to is Natalie, and even that's been limited. I know they text here and there. She won't show me what they talk about, which is frustrating because I'm her mother. I have a right to know if someone is poisoning her against me, even if that someone is my own son. Look, I know people online like to make it sound like I'm this cartoon villain who ruined her son's life because of a trip. That's not what happened. I made a decision based on the family's reality at the time. He wanted winter. The girls couldn't do winter. Spring worked. We went. It's over. And frankly, it was a vacation. Not war. Not betrayal. A vacation. And he still went on one himself, by the way. Yep. A few months later, I found out through Natalie, of course, that he took a trip with friends. All planned in secret. Never mentioned it. Never gave us a heads up. No photos shared, no stories told, nothing. Just went, came back, and resumed ignoring everyone. Like he's punishing me for not falling at his feet over some loyalty oath. So don't tell me I ruined travel for him, or that I crushed his passion. He's doing just fine, clearly capable of planning, booking, and enjoying himself. So if this is really about being excluded, why not just say, "Hey, I want to talk." Instead, he ran away. A boy pretending to be a man by sulking in silence. And before people twist this around again, no, I don't hate my son. He's my child. Why would I ever want to see him fail? The exact opposite is true. I believe he has so much potential. He's smart, focused, and driven when he's not using all that to hold grudges and weaponize guilt. I know what people said. That I'm controlling, vindictive, and a narcissist. That I gave away his trip as punishment. That I picked favorites. First of all, I didn't take anything from him. He lost privileges when he disrespected me and his sister. Full stop. Actions have consequences. Brandon, the cousin who took that trip instead, showed nothing but gratitude. He texted me after the trip, thanking me for the opportunity. Said it opened his eyes to new cultures and inspired him to work harder. That trip meant something to him. So maybe that decision wasn't about punishment. Maybe it was about putting opportunity in the hands of someone who would actually appreciate it. Meanwhile, Natalie's been complicated. Cries more than she used to. She says she misses Lucas, and I believe her. She says she feels like the glue between everyone, and I hate that she's taken on that role. She's 14. She shouldn't have to mediate between siblings and parents. But the truth is, she's the only one trying. And yes, I did yell at her during that week. I was stressed, I was emotional, and she kept pushing when I needed quiet. That doesn't make me abusive, that makes me human. I've apologized to her since then. We talk. She knows I love her, and that none of this is her fault. Isabel hasn't said a word about any of it. She acts like Lucas is dead to her. Pretends nothing happened. At first I thought she was just being strong, but honestly, I think she's hurt too. She just won't show it. That's how she is. She shuts down instead of blowing up. Lucas thinks she's the villain now, but honestly, they both handled things poorly. He mocked her. She dismissed him. That's not right versus wrong. That's two teenagers being emotionally immature. So here we are. My son doesn't come home. My middle child is trying to hold us together. My oldest daughter walks around like nothing's broken. And I'm the only one still trying to fix this. Because I am trying. Whether Reddit wants to believe it or not. In fact, I've even offered to pay for a trip just for the kids. No parents. Just Lucas, Natalie, and Isabel. I'd cover the flights, hotel, food, everything. I told Natalie to bring it up gently and see if he'd even consider it. No strings attached. Let them reconnect and heal without my presence ruining it. He said he'd think about it, which is something, at least. So let me ask Reddit again. Since everyone was so quick to call me every name under the sun. If I'm still willing to fund an entire sibling vacation out of pocket, just to help them reconnect. Am I really the villain here? Am I still the arsehole? You don't know what it's like to raise 3 kids with completely different needs, personalities, and schedules. You don't know the nights I went without sleep, the jobs I worked, and the loans I paid off just to keep this family afloat. It wasn't perfect. I never claimed to be perfect, but I always tried. Lucas knows that. Deep down, he does. That's why I still believe he'll come back. One day, he'll look back and realize I did what I had to do not to hurt him, but to keep this family moving forward. He'll grow out of this. He's still a boy, figuring life out. He'll see what I meant. And when he does, I'll still be here, waiting, like a mother should. So again, after everything I've done, everything I've offered, everything I've sacrificed, am I really still the arsehole? Comments. Comment 1. Your love sounds like a hostage situation. Jesus. Your posts read like a masterclass in emotional manipulation. I don't hate my son. Followed by a detailed monologue about how ungrateful and dramatic he is. You say you believe in him, yet you brag about giving his trip to someone more deserving. You act like you were generous to not cut him off entirely after he rightfully called you out. You don't love your kids the way you think you do. You own them. At least, that's how you talk. It's always, my house, my sacrifices, and my rules. But never once do you say, I hear you, or I hurt you, and I'm sorry. You can't buy your way out of being emotionally unavailable and punitive. Natalie is breaking down because she sees through the cracks. And Lucas. He's the only one protecting himself from a family that refuses to reflect. You don't need a vacation plan. You need therapy. Like yesterday. Comment 2. You are so close to understanding, but your ego won't let you. Honestly. You're not a monster. I can see that you do care, but you care in the way people do when they need to be right more than they need to be connected. The sad part is, your offer to pay for a trip could have been healing if it came with actual remorse. But instead it came bundled with snide comments, fake generosity, and a laundry list of reasons why you're technically not at fault. And Lucas knows that. Kids can spot performative love a mile away. You keep trying to get Reddit to tell you you're not the arsey hole, but it's not going to fix your relationship. Because what your son needs isn't a vacation. He needs to feel safe around you. And until you can give him that, he's going to keep choosing distance. And honestly, that's not on him anymore. Second story. Dad's girlfriend demands I do all the house chores, raise all her 4 kids, and cover my college and job. She now demanded that I live in the basement because her daughter doesn't want to share my room with me and took my car away to force me to stay in the house. Hey Ada, I'm 19F and in school. I go to college in the city I grew up in and am getting my bachelor's, but I live at home to save money. My parents aren't together and had me pretty young, so they didn't really have anything saved for me. So I have a smattering of scholarships. And since I don't need to pay rent or anything like that, no loans. I was always week on, week off with my parents and have continued that. A few weeks ago my mum and stepdad 35F and 40M told me they were finally expecting a baby after years of trying. I was so happy for them until they told me I couldn't keep living there, as they'd need to focus on the baby and there wouldn't be enough room. They do have enough room, but I know having a baby is a lot. And it's my stepdad's first baby. Plus, I don't know how to explain it. But they were nice when they asked. It wasn't like, GTFO, we're replacing you. I love them both and want them to have time for themselves and their baby. So I asked my dad 35M. He told me I could, of course, live there full time. I guess he didn't talk to my stepmom 42F about that lol, because when I showed up she was pretty unhappy. They have 2 kids of their own 8 and 6. And she has 2 kids, 14 male and 16 female, who are still in high school. I share a room with her daughter when I stay there. But her kids don't see their dad, so they're always there. I've always gotten along with everyone and consider her kids my siblings. Like, if I'm not in school or working, I'll go to their sports games or take them to shows or movies or out to eat and pay for it. They're really sweet, but pretty shy, so just for background. And the younger ones are little. I don't do much with them because they're barely even people so far. Lol. But yeah, my stepmom wants me to either start paying rent $500 a month or take on a bunch of additional chores. For the record, I do chores, of course. I always have. But she wants me to do things like driving all 4 kids to and from school so they don't have to take the bus, make their lunches, and help them with homework in addition to my existing chores of cleaning all the bathrooms and doing the yard work. I asked if we could compromise, and I could take the older ones to school in the morning on my way to class. Their school is kind of on my way to my school, while the little kids' school will add 40 minutes of driving and help them with homework. But I can't pick them up after school because I'd have to leave my school to do that, and then come back for my labs and study groups. Right now, I stay on campus basically from 8 to 6. But she wants me to leave in the middle of my day, and on some days, I even have class at that time to pick them up and bring them home. And making lunches for 4 picky kids plus my dad and stepmom just sounds like a lot on top of school. And I also work 35 hours a week, mostly on weekends. Granted, my dad thinks it's a good compromise, but my stepmom doesn't and won't stop being mean to me. Or telling me that she has had an emergency and I need to drop everything and pick up the kids when the emergency is that she felt like going to a networking happy hour. What happened yesterday? I feel like such a nuisance, but I know I'm saving money living here. I don't want to tell my mom any of this and stress her out. My stepmom keeps saying it's my mom's fault, but when she had my younger sibs, I only came over every other weekend to give them space to be a new family because it's what she wanted. I just feel like none of this is fair, but also like I'm the biggest burden in the world. My dad says I don't have to pay rent or do the additional chores, but I don't want to cause issues in their marriage. Ada for just doing some of the new chores my stepmom wants me to. Edit. I put it in a comment, but I'm really sorry. I'm sorry I was so argumentative last night. I haven't been sleeping well and have been so stressed out and sad. I got some sleep and talked to Dad, and he's going to handle my stepmom. Luckily, they're not legally married. He let her move in when she got pregnant because she was losing her place, and they had a ceremony in our backyard. But it's not legal. He did promise me he wouldn't kick her older kids out because they did nothing wrong. But he's been done with her behavior all summer, and even before that. If I'm honest about my mom, it was always us. And then my stepdad came, and he was so nice to me compared to my stepmom. They asked if I could spend more time at my dad's for a few months after their baby was born because they know I hate babies, and I took that as an eviction and moved out immediately. I'm going to talk to my mom today. I've been kind of avoiding her and not going over there every other weekend like she wants because I think I'm being immature about the baby. Basically, in short, last night, I was hungry, tired, and needed to touch some grass. And I'm very sorry I was so bitchy to everyone. I am thankful for all of your advice, even if it was hard to hear. But I need to be a big girl and talk to my mom. Comments. Commenter 1. I don't know. This is a tough spot to be in for everyone. I have a question. Do you pay for your own food, toiletries, phone bill, car insurance, cost of living, etc., besides rent? You shouldn't be responsible for a lot of those things she's asking you to do for her kids. But I get that she's asking you to step up considering you're living there for free. OP. No, my mom pays for my car and health insurance, and my dad pays my phone bill. I pay for my own gas and a lot of the food I eat since I'm not home when they have dinner, etc. So I cost them probably less than the other kids. I'm only 19, and I can't afford to move out. And I don't know anyone else my age that pays their parents' rent. Commenter 2. Soft YTA. Because you have no standing to bargain here. It is not your home, and you are an adult living there. 500 is the number because stepmom wants you gone. Dad is being a wuss because he won't have a hard conversation with stepmom. Stepmom is asking for a crazy amount of duties for a 19-year-old in college. If you were any younger, this would be called parentification and could get you removed from the home or them arrested. So you have a choice to make. You can tell stepmom to pound sand with her chores, pay the 500, and demand a full lease. You get it in writing that you get your own room, possibly your own bathroom, and there are no restrictions on you. Come and go as you please. If she balks on her own room, she needs to back off on the rent. You need to get dad involved in this. If they insist on you sharing the room with a sibling, you need to pay much less, no argument. Or you can suck it up, do all the chores without complaint, and keep saving money. Or you can find out what it would cost in the dorms, get loans and grants, and move out. But you have no standing to tell her no if you are living there for free. Edit. One other option, as all these chores constitute you being a de facto nanny. Make them pay you accordingly. OP. I'm only 19. I'm barely an adult. And I can't even afford $500. Maybe $300. But I have to pay for all my own stuff and gas. And I make okay tips, but not enough to get by if I have to pay them rent. They don't have any more rooms. I didn't complain when I had to share a room with my sister, or not come over after they had their kids for a while. I don't know why she's being such a bee about this when I've always been nice to her. OP responds to a downvoted comment regarding who owns the house and invading her step-family's space. OP. It was my dad's and my house before they even met. But your comment is totally wrong, and if she thinks that way, I want nothing to do with her. How am I invading my sister's space? It's always been my room. When my stepmom got pregnant, yes, it became our room. But just because she's always been able to live here full-time, I don't see how it's any more her room. They did have notice. I asked my dad about a month before I moved in, and he literally said I didn't even need to ask. This was, is, and will always be my home. I don't know who's on the deed, but we've lived here since before he even knew them. He tells me all the time he's leaving it to me since it was his parents' house too. There are 4 rooms. I had the biggest obviously when it was just the 2 of us. When they moved in we each had our own room. But when my stepmom got pregnant, her older daughter moved into my room. Both my stepmom's older kids' dads are deadbeats who she can never get a hold of, so her kids always live here. But they're not my dad's kids. He loves them and everything. But he's not either of their dads. OP on her budget and living situations with both sides of the families. OP. I make more than a lot of my friends. But jobs are hard to find these days, and I'm lucky I get the hours that I do. But I don't think my mom and stepdad are being mean. When my stepmom got pregnant, I mostly lived with my mom at my stepmom's request, so they could get used to the babies together without me distracting them. And I knew that if my mom got pregnant, that would be the plan. I don't see how it's fair to tell my mom I won't do that for her when I did for my stepmom. I don't want to cause problems, but I do need to stand up for myself, and I'm not moving out just because she's throwing another tantrum. My dad is traveling for work a lot, and I'm rarely home as it is. I'll just try to avoid her. OP on her talks with her father about what was going on at the household with the stepmother. OP, yeah, I talked to him a little tonight, and he told me not to worry about my stepmom. She just has a weird thing about me since they never had a daughter together and needs to get over it because he's sick of it. Or something like that. I don't know, it's complicated. I told him I'd probably spend some nights at my boyfriend's. He has his own place. But again, I'm not ready to live with him, and I don't think he loved that though. But I'm done driving the others and making their lunches. She's going to have to figure something else out. No, I talked to my dad about it tonight. He said my stepmom needs to get over her issues with me, and he's getting sick of it. I'll probably spend more time at my boyfriend's, which he low-key hates, but at least he admits she's being a nightmare. He said he'll deal with it, but I don't need to do that. My dad and I know the issue is that my stepmom hates that my dad has a daughter, and it makes her uncomfortable. I think she wanted me to go away when I turned 18. She'll say messed up stuff like that it's unnatural for a woman to have to live with another woman's daughter. But apparently it's very normal and natural for my dad to live with her kids with other men. Elmao, and it's been going on for months, and I think my dad has finally hit his limit. I know he was stressed because they aren't legally married, and technically she would have full custody of my younger sibs. But ever since he went to the court to get 50/50ths in case something happens, he's been pushing back. Is the stepmother jealous of OP? Are OP's father and stepmother having financial struggles? OP, they're fine on money. My stepmom just has this stupid thing about me because she never had a daughter with my dad. It's effed up, but she just needs to be an adult and get over it. My dad was telling me about it, and how he's about sick of it, and she needs to figure it out or leave. I obviously don't want that, but it's so annoying. Like neither of her 2 older kids does any chores and never has. I've had chores since I was 8. I'm just done with her. Commenter 3. I'm so sorry your parents have treated you this way. It might be a good idea to talk to your mom. Ask her if you can stay there until you finish college, and offer to help with the baby when you aren't in school or studying. Tell her about the stepmother's demands, and start distancing yourself from your stepmom. Soon you'll be on your own. You just need a bit of support for the next few years. OP on her parents being 16 when she was born. OP, yeah, they were in high school. Update. Thanks for all your help on my last post. Basically, I'm 19 and in school. My mom and stepdad are finally having a baby. When my dad and stepmom had their kids, I lived with my mom and stepdad. I was 50/50ths with my parents before this, but moved in with my dad full time, and it pissed my stepmom off. She has 2 kids with my dad. They are not legally married and 2 teenagers, one of whom 16F I share a room with here. Neither of their dads are in their lives. My stepmom either wants me to do an excessive amount of chores or pay $500 rent to live here. I refused to do either, and my dad backed me up. So my dad and stepmom got into a huge fight over this. It started because my stepsister, who I've always been nice and welcoming to, threw a fit to her mom about sharing a room with me. Please remember that this has always been my room. She moved in a few years ago, and I never threw a fit. But she was just yelling at me, and her mom was backing her up. I went to leave, and my stepmom took my car keys and told me I needed to get my stuff out of the bedroom and stay in the basement. I laughed in her face and told my dad what happened. I think he finally hit his limit after everything with her and told her she needed to leave. She left to stay with a friend and has been there for past few days. But it's been so hard because now my dad and I have to pick up all her slack for the kids. He wasn't going to kick any kids out, but made it clear to my stepsister that I would not be moving my stuff to an unfinished basement. I was pretty uncomfortable and went to see my mom. I told Mom everything, and she was absolutely devastated that I had kept it all from her. I feel bad. I know it was just an excuse for me to not stress her out while she was pregnant. And I think it was more so because I was mad at her, which I know is immature. She said she knew I really can't stand babies and didn't think I'd completely move out full time with my dad, just spend more time there. I actually feel really bad. My parents don't get along, and I've always treated them more like friends than people who I could lean on for support. And I think that was wrong. After I told her everything, my mom actually called my dad for the first time in years. It was crazy. She apologized to him. And then he said she shouldn't apologize. I thought I was living in the Twilight Zone. My stepsister went to my stepmom's friend's house to live. But my stepbrother, who is nice to me, wants to stay. And there's no room for the little ones at that house. And my stepmom told my dad to figure it out. I get why she's mad, but they're still her kids. My mom and stepdad said I'm not their parent and told my dad to ask them for help if he's going to ask me. When they used to have me babysit the little ones, I'd bring them to my mom so she could help me so they know her. I don't know what's going to happen. But I do see my parents differently now. Like I've always thought I was out for myself, and I'd need to figure things out. Like when I got a speeding ticket, I found and paid for a lawyer. But then they found out and were mad I didn't ask for help. I think I'm going to work on thinking of them as support and people who are there to help me, and not people I owe things to. Sorry, this isn't a great update, but I wanted to get that off my chest. Comments. Commenter 1. How many kids does your dad have actually? Wasn't clear. OP, 3 biological ones. But he's been in her older kids' lives for, 8 years, way more than their dad's. Commenter 2. Is remodeling the basement an option? Because while I sympathize with you and think your stepmother is a jerk, lack of space is lack of space, unfortunately. OP, yeah, but that costs money. And my dad's paycheck really supported everyone. She works at a gas station and doesn't make much. So maybe he'll be able to save more money, not having to pay for her stuff. Commenter 3. I still don't understand why she moved out in the first place. Also, I'd take that unfinished basement in a second over sharing a bedroom with a 16-year-old. OP. She didn't so much move out as it's my dad's house. And he told her she was no longer welcome to live there. I'm sure if she were smarter, she'd figure out squatters' rights or something. So I'm glad she just left. And it's my room. It has been my entire life. Why should I leave when she's the brat? Commenter 4. Your dad should file for full custody and get child support. This way he can hire a babysitter to help with the kids. The stepmom already abandoned the kids. OP. He actually went to the court to get 50-50 its custody earlier this year. Since they aren't married, and in my state, he found out if you were never married, Mom has full custody unless you go to court. They were fighting, and she threatened him about it. She has, no money, so I don't think he's as worried about child support. I do worry she'll be a deadbeat like her older kids' dad, though. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.